Let's check in with the doc and look at things with a wider lens. Pastor Richards on OMG.
Good morning to everyone. I trust that everyone is doing well today.
Flex is with me today, not Shady.
Morning.
Flex, good morning, Flex. I think I know Flex from somewhere, but I'm trying to nail it down. Maybe his dad I knew or something. Who probably was. If his dad went to St. Martin's Secondary School, then that's where I'm making the connection.
He's saying he thinks so.
He doesn't know which school his dad went to.
I can't remember.
St. Martin Secondary School, I think. All right, but let me hold on that. Good morning to you if you are outside of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but you're locked on and listening, and I'm glad that you have life, and I hope that you're in relatively good health. Daniel, I want to follow up a little bit on my. Give me time to settle also because I'm running around and
I was just about to ask you,
settle on my thoughts yet, but I will see. Take a swing at it.
Okay.
I want to follow up a little bit on what I said yesterday. Many people, for some reason, message me or in other ways connected with me to let me know. I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised as to how many people really keyed into what I was saying yesterday, and they got it. And when I came off that program yesterday, I am like, this one, I am totally lost. I mean, basically, his middle stump knocked out and leg stump and off stump gone. Because I thought I didn't make the point, and then just to hear people come back more than on any other program, I would say you're onto something there. I really appreciated that. Of course, there are some who missed my point, and the main point that I was trying to make, someone just WhatsApped you this morning and said it, that public safety is primary. I think that's the point that Jerry has also been making all along. Public safety is primary. You've got to do what you have. Him here. You've got to do what you've got to do to secure public safety. All right, and I think that is the point that I have been trying to belabor. So I appreciate all those who are helping me to make the point that the trajectory that public safety is on, and the way this has shot to prominence. You are in this loop. I'm using a term in physics here, but you're in this loop in which that becomes prominent, and other things are going to have to line up in terms of priority. Your decisions are going to have to be made in the interest of public safety. I think that's the point I was making yesterday. In fact, I wasn't even referencing St. Vincent for those who thought I was referencing St. Vincent. I was very, very clear. Let me do a segue on the value of listening. I love to listen and synthesize what people are saying. So it's a good practice that you should really listen keenly and synthesize what people are saying. I was actually saying, I used the word New World Order. I talked about democracies around the world. I know that people are usually jumpy because they're so partisan about St. Vincent. So I try not to narrow it down too much to St. Vincent. If people want to make applications to St. Vincent, that's on them. That's not on me. I can't be held responsible for your applications. So I usually keep things a little bit global and let people, make the applications. I run the risk of people saying, oh, you're running around the mulberry, this and that and that. It's all right. People with sense can actually make applications if they want. So I was dealing with the global phenomenon because the pandemic obviously is global in nature. It's not isolated to St. Vincent. And I was saying that people, particularly in the hard-hit countries, hear me and hear me well, people particularly in the hard-hit countries are going to really be hard-pressed to want to secure the health of the public. I heard who I thought was MacArthur calling in this morning, MacArthur Young, and pressing that point home again, talking about the conditions in New York City. There are unique conditions there that would require certain structures and strictures to ensure public safety. another person wrote in and said, public safety is primary. That being the case, I think we are all on the same page. You do what you can to protect public safety. My argument was simply this, not in St. Vincent, for those who with partisan eyes want to think it's about St. Vincent, that in other places where the public safety is of such prominence, I think my point was that the weight of what's upon them to protect public safety will force them to gladly surrender civil liberties. I think that is, and they would even offer, we won't mind if this, I said, I beg you, take this liberty, take that liberty. I've seen where interest groups, not here in St. Vincent, mind you, but interest groups elsewhere are actually pushing governors of state to make certain decisions to be more protective. There's a firm up in South Dakota. I think that is one of those interest groups. Trade unions are other interest groups, and is another interest group that is pushing the lawmakers to institute measures to protect the health of their people. They're actually pushing for laws to be on the books. Please hear me, listen well. They're pushing for laws to be on the books to be more restrictive in order that their workers can be more protected in meat plants, for example, where their workers are working. They want the firm to be mandated to put certain measures and restrictions in place to ensure their safety. So it's something, and it's not only that plant. I am just saying that people are willing to have their lives put out of their optimal groove in order to be sure that this dreaded disease is not going to come their way. Now, the other thing that bothers me too is, and probably what I'm more concerned about, is the preemptive strikes against COVID or anything like this. Now, I'm going to say some things that might bother some people, but Andrew Cuomo, I'm just using his name. Andrew Cuomo scares me a little bit. I know, everybody loves him at this time, and oh God, you see right there.
He scares you.
He's so popular. Hello?
He scares you.
Yeah, he's so popular now. It's hard to say anything. It's hard to say anything. I already know this is not going to go down good whether in St. Vincent, because Vincentians have followed him and they love him. I know that. And outside of St. Vincent, and especially so many Vincentians living in New York, you love him. But he scares me a little bit. I follow him a lot, and he just scares. And the reason why he scares me, he is a rare thinking man. Right? Not that thinking people scare me, don't get me wrong. He's so rational in his arguments. He puts together his case. He is a very, very strong advocate of do what it takes, and he doesn't care what it takes. He will even stand up to the president on many cases. He do what it takes to protect the lives of the health of the people within his constituency, being the state of New York. And the reason why I say that is the measures that he is prepared to go to in terms of his preemptive strike. It is clearly, and he would advocate this. It is clearly going to thread on. Follow him, because don't take my word for it. So again, don't take my word for it. Follow him. He is willing to put some things as secondary, so that safety can be primary. And that's the argument I was making yesterday. In order to be more, and part of the problem with COVID, and people, what I'm saying, is that America felt blindsided, as many countries around the world, but I'm trying to stay out of St. Vincent and this, so let me talk about them. They felt blindsided, and in the great United States of America, they felt like, the medical reserves of supplies, they were empty, so they got caught flat-footed. Enough measures were not in place. You didn't have enough excess in the hospitals for a pandemic in terms of excess bed or available space utilized. You had to bring 2 ships, Comfort and Mercy, I think it was. You have to bring 2 hospital ships on board, and people just felt that this is not going to happen again. This is so drastic that this is not going to happen again. So this is what I call preemptive. To be sure that this does not happen again, you are going to see measures put in place that will be more restrictive, that there is going to be more authoritarian and centralized control. Frankly speaking, as I listen to the prognosticators in the U.S. talk about it, they actually continually keep making reference to other places where this was done and the problem was sewn up with a little bit more ease. But interestingly, these references are to a more authoritarian style states, as if to suggest that once you have measures in place of an authoritarian nature, then you are going to be able to move with greater ease through this process. Let me give you a point here. Trump, he wants to reopen the economy. He wants to move in an authoritarian style. His advisors seem to think that an authoritarian move, that he actually said 2 nights ago that the powers of the president gives him basically authority to mandate the opening up of the economy for 50 states. Each state is basically like a country in and of itself. If I say that lightly, but each state has a governor who is supposed to govern the state. There's the state laws, there are federal laws. He sees himself as the federal head, and therefore has the authoritarian style, to dictate when things should close down and things should open up. And there are others who and he feels like this allows for greater control and greater fluidity and movement within that scenario. So there are people who think that the authoritarian style is going to help them to be more preemptive and also to better react to pandemics like this. Because you have centralized control. I have been hearing that argument throughout this whole process. But what that scenario, to be preemptive and to be more authoritarian, what that mandates is that you can't just do it willy-nilly. You can't just do it with word of mouth. You are going to have to actually begin to legislate and to put laws on the book. That this is what is coming. In order for societies, in order for states, in order for countries to be more preemptive and more prepared for pandemics like this and dealing with them going forward, they are going, again, laws rule the land, and you can't rule the land without the laws. You are going to have to put laws on the books, and some of these laws are going to erode, again, the things that I pointed out yesterday. This is just a given. They're going to erode certain freedoms. Laws are going to be put on the books to curtail your freedom and your privacy. They're going to, the health machinery, they're going to have to be more invasive. You are going to have to be screened and tested and all of that, whether or not you want to be, because public safety is at stake. A simple matter of vaccination. If and when, I believe it's more an issue of when vaccine become available. You think that with public safety and health at stake, you are going to be able to say, hey, I don't want a vaccine. Forget that. I have my individual right. I am not taking a vaccine. Then I did a poll the other day. I don't know if you got that question from me, but I did a poll. I sent out a question. If and when a vaccine becomes available, would you be willing to take it? And a bunch of the answers was basically no. So I'm saying to myself, are you kidding me? What if you don't want to take this vaccine? Are you going to be allowed to travel? Seriously, because obviously if you're not taking the vaccine, if you're not vaccinated, there are those who are going to argue that you're going to be at risk.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
are you going to want to travel? You don't want somebody on the plane that doesn't have the vaccine? Mm-hmm. Are you going to be sending your children to school? Are you going to want them in school? I asked these questions the other day. Are you going to be able to go into different places and conduct business? There are going to be inclusion, exclusion. You're going to have laws that will restrict that. Your privacy will have to take a little bit of a hit, and certain rights. I heard again, I'm not making up things, but I listened to the news out of California there, and I heard that even in the post-COVID pandemic period, in the immediate period following the post-COVID pandemic, that your ability to gather and congregate and meet like you used to, that is going to be curtailed, and it's not going to be curtailed by word of mouth. It is going to be curtailed by law. Of course, it's going to be challenging the law code, but it is going to be put on the books that they're going to mandate and make certain regulations that will govern social gathering. Because something like this, I'm telling you, is not going to happen again. And the powers that be are going to put the measures in place to make sure that it does not happen. And how do you put the measures in place except through legislation? But the legislation obviously will. It's very clear to any thinking person. The legislation is going to curtail certain freedoms and privacies and individual rights in order that the queen, I was going to say the king, but Corona is queen, means queen, that the queen doesn't reign like she's reigning right now. So it's just a give and take. It's a simple give and take. You are going to have to give up these kind of rights in order to ensure public safety. And the arguments like Andrew Cuomo I think he's at the forefront of making these arguments. He's a brilliant mind, and but he argues very well in such a way that you will want to say, yes, Andrew, you are right. We will give a little bit of our freedom, we will give a little bit of our privacy, we will give a little bit of our individual rights, because we want the kind of safety that you are arguing for. That's why I said he's a little bit scary. He is such a demagogue that, and such a brilliant demagogue, that he will effectively lead people to easily give these up and get the public safety as number one. That's all I want to say before I ramble on anymore.
You're not rambling.
But these are thoughts for us to really think about. And what I did yesterday also, I put all of this within the context of biblical prophecy, because I did say that the Bible, as much as people want to discount the Bible predicts a society in which there's going to be more authoritarian control, in which that there's going to be the people are going to be herded together and more regulations placed on them. So I don't want to get into too much conspiracy theory, except that I see a certain parallel between what the Bible predicts about what's going to happen in the end time and what is happening right now. But I have to think it through some more and articulate it some more. Let me say to people out there that I appreciate all of the comments, even those that disagree with me. It will make me think. One of the great things about growing and learning is being able to listen to perspectives that differ from yours without going all into a pretzel and arguing and defending yourself. You just listen and you take on board. Let me also say that my objective here is not to win arguments, and I'm very suspicious in fundamental matters such as this. I'm very, very suspicious of those who want to win arguments, because sometimes to win an argument, sometimes we miss the truth or we sacrifice the truth. I'd rather lose an argument so that the truth gets out rather than win an argument and subvert the truth. So these are things to think about. Have a great day.
Thank you, Pastor. Have a great day as well.
Bye-bye.